In this video, we're going to show you how our leather dyes can cover deep ingrained stains in leather and vinyl. Okay, so here's a little video of course a common scenario, and this applies to purses, boots, shoes, luggage, leather car interiors, leather furniture. This just happens to be a vinyl purse that looks like leather. As you can see, it looks like leather. It looks great. But what happens is from jean dye, when it's rubbing on you, you get this type of staining, okay? Also too, if you were to get ink on here, what you could do is, instead of using anything, like don't use all kinds of stuff, you first want to use our ink remover, okay? This is specifically designed to apply to the ink. The ink will loosen up, and then what you would do is you would basically get a Q-tip and you would sort of roll and upwards. You want to roll it and upwards. You don't want to push it deeper in. When you're using an ink remover, it doesn't magically like bleach out the stain, or it doesn't magically dissipate the ink. What it does is it loosens the ink up to what? To be removed upwards. If you loosen the ink up and you apply pressure downward, you're pushing the ink deeper into whatever material you're dealing with. So if you have ink on your couch and you've tried everything and you've sort of rubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed and rubbed, you have it within the actual hide. It's in the finish. It's not laying on the surface to be removed. It's actually within the material. And you can see that here. See how it looks like it's sort of bled into the material, whether it be leather or vinyl or what have you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the performance of our ink remover on it. So if you had a scenario like this, this is what's going to happen. This is how you can expect to remove it. Now, I really don't think that the ink remover is going to do that much, but it could, maybe it's just laying on the surface. Maybe it's penetrated down into the material. I don't know. We're figuring this out right here, right now. We like to make videos that aren't, pre-scripted or anything like that. We like to find a scenario, we put it in front of the camera, and we do it right here, right now for you. So we would open the ink remover, just open up the airtight seal, put the lock top cap on it, shake it up, and what you want to do, can you still see that? We want to apply the ink remover right to this area and just sort of massage it in a little bit. Same thing here. Put the ink remover on there, massage it into this area gently. Okay, so it's sitting on top of there very gently. You just want to try to put the ink remover on there. Like if there was just a little bit of ink here, you just put the ink remover just on the ink and you let it sit. And then you would take your Q-tip and you would just basically wipe it and wipe it upwards. We're getting a little bit of blue on there, but nothing huge. I suspect that whoever had this purse before tried everything to try to remove it, and if you use everything to try to remove ink, you're pushing it deeper and deeper into the material. So I don't know if you can see it, it's starting to turn blue. Okay, we are getting some out of it. So let's get our leather cleaning and dusting cloth and put a little bit of ink remover right on there, and put a little bit more ink remover on here and let that sit a little bit. And since we know that it's impregnated now, let's try to rub it a little bit more to try to remove that. And the way you do that is you just want to sort of massage. When you clean leather or clean anything, instead of rubbing and scrubbing and pushing and forcing it deeper in to the material, you just sort of want to gently massage it and try to pull it up into the cloth. And that's what we're doing now. Okay. Same thing here. It's not really pulling up too much at all, a very little amount. So you can put a little bit more ink remover on here and put a little bit more ink remover there and just apply it onto the surface just like we did before. Again, the only reason I'm doing it this way is because I know it's embedded into the finish, and we're just giving it one last try to clean up as much as possible. But it's really not doing that much. It's probably taking out about, like even right here, I'm massaging it, you know, and cleaning and massaging. You don't want to scrub and rub too hard or you could actually damage the material. That's why we say don't scrub and rub. So it's maybe taking out 10% or 5%. Well, that's not good enough. So what we're going to do is we're just going to clean this purse, okay? And then we're going to apply, of course, our dye product. So first you try to clean, and a lot of times too, the cleaner, see our leather cleaner that comes in the kit? This can effectively remove ink as well. You just spray it onto the ink, let it sit for a minute, and then you can take your cloth, and what you want to do is just sort of roll upwards with it. And that's what I'm doing with the Q-tip. We're laying it on here, and we're twisting the Q-tip upwards. So you're basically doing this. You're getting it, and you're pushing, and you're pulling it upwards to try to get the ink on here. That's the secret. You want to pull the ink out, okay? So this is the small leather dye repair kit. Of course, it comes with your leather cleaning and dusting cloth. It comes with your cleaner. It comes with a 2-ounce bottle of dye. This is what's known as our light beige B color, this purse. Very popular with regards to these sort of natural looking purses or natural looking leathers and stuff like that. And then you get your 2-ounce sealer, which is your protective top coat. And inside the kit you get, of course, your rubber gloves, your lock top cap for the top of the dye, so you can open up the bottle of dye without spillage or anything. That just makes application that much easier. Closed, open, okay? And of course your sponges for easy application. So what we're going to do is we're just going to let this dry quickly, and then we're going to apply a coat of dye to cover these stains. So I'm thinking we're probably going to need to dab on about 2 or 3 coats before this purse looks really nice again. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're back. This area is dry. See, what happens too is when people just have an ink stain, they go on their website, they buy the cleaner, they buy the ink remover. Probably about 60 or 70% of the time, they can successfully remove the ink stains. As long as they didn't try everything under the kitchen sink to try to remove it, it will remove the ink stains really, really well. The other 30%, people have already scrubbed and rubbed, or this is what you have left, so what do you need to do now? You need to buy a dye kit. So this is the dye kit like I explained before. We're basically gonna get right into it. We're gonna open up the kit. We're going to get a sponge. We already have the bottle of dye, okay? Light beige B again. We're gonna shake it up. Get a good mix. There's a little stone inside. We're gonna open it up. We're gonna apply it to the sponge, just like this. And we're just gonna grab onto the purse, just like this, so everyone can see. And we're just going to dab the dye on, as you can see. Now, we're using a lighter colored dye to cover a darker color, so you're probably going to have to put on a couple coats, but of course this is already looking really good. The nice thing about our dye is we don't water it down, so it has really nice coverage. Okay, see here? Yeah, looks all right. Now we're going to dry it up with the hair dryer. Drying our dyes on vinyl takes a little bit longer because it's all surface adhesion, and it usually doesn't like vinyl's somewhat of a non-porous material. Generally, vinyl products are flammable and have a lot of solvents in them, so they sort of melt into the vinyl. but our products are all water-based, so you're not going to have that flammability issue or, you know, a harsh smell or anything like that, and they're going to dry nice and flexible, okay, and they're going to feel really well. Now that took care of, you know, it's still a work in progress. We're going to need another 1 or 2 coats and it's going to look fantastic. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're back. We just had to dry this and of course change up our memory card, because when you're filming videos you're always running out of memory. So as you can see, it's a work in progress. You can still see a little bit here. You can still see a little bit under here. I don't think we got right under here yet, but you can see that the first coat is sort of better, but we're not there yet. It's still a work in progress. So you want to shake the ball of dye again, put a little bit on the sponge just like that. Okay, and then of course you put your hand inside the purse for a little bit of support. And what we're going to do is you can just wipe it in like this, whatever works for you. Very light hand. If you use a light hand like this, you'll reduce any type of streaking or anything like that. If you want to apply dye in a certain area without it moving, you just sort of dab it on like that. Because you have to understand, I mean, you can use, you know, air gun equipment to apply our dyes, but generally we're selling to the public directly, where, you know, you can just do it with a sponge. Why do you need a compressor, and why do you need a spray gun? Or even if you have that, you can use it. You just have to set the poundage of the gun to about 35 psi, and you can put the dyes in the gun and spray it on and let it dry and cure, and then you can put the sealer, see right here, the sealer. You put the sealer in the gun and then spray on a sealer top coat and let that dry. So if you want to be a total professional, you could do it that way. But people get very good results even with the sponges, okay? And the sponges too, when you apply it with the sponge, nothing's dripping, okay? With air guns, you know, it's airborne. So you have overspray and you have all this stuff, and it should be in a controlled environment because you don't want to breathe in overspray. You know, you don't want to get overspray. It's like dust. You get it all over your house and stuff. So when you're using the sponges, it's controllable. It's not airborne, and it still does a really nice job. So we get very good results from our customers just using the sponges. So why tell people that they need to use an air gun? You don't need to use an air gun. You can still do sort of a professional looking job just with the sponges. This way it's easy peasy, and you're not going to make a mess, and you're not going to have things that are airborne, and you're not going to have, you know, overspray and all this stuff. I mean, we want to do things in life that are easy, that give maximum results, maximum performance and maximum results. So here, what I see is, see how we laid the dyes on like really thick here? I couldn't really see that. You don't want that. You just want to wipe them like this so they're not dripping wet or anything like that. See how we just feathered it in? Okay. So if that happens to you, don't dry it and let it run, because it'll look sloppy. It won't look nice. That's the reason why. Okay. And again, we always recommend you use a hair dryer and not a heat gun, because a heat gun can heat things up real quick. And when you heat things up real quick, when it comes to leather, you can shrink leather and you can burn vinyl. So we just do it for the videos, so you don't sit there and get too bored on the other side of the camera, just to speed it up along a little bit. So now we're going to put a little bit more dye on here. And where do we want to put it? Let's see. Looks like it needs a little bit more right here. So the dyes aren't perfectly dried and cured, but they're sort of good enough to put another coat on. Like I can put the glove down here and nothing will come off on the glove. But here, this one edge, and if your purse or leather or anything like that is worn on the bottom, the dye does a beautiful job of correcting all that wear. Okay? Take your time and get it all covered. See, some of this I can even see a little bit of wear. So when you're doing stuff like this, it's always a good idea to do the worst areas first. So the areas that require the most amount of dye and the most amount of attention, fix those. and then you can blend it into the rest of the purse, no problem. Okay. This is looking pretty good. Let's dry this up. See how it's shiny? When the dyes dry, they will look more matte, as you can see. See over here? So it's starting to look a heck of a lot better on my end here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's almost looking like a perfect purse. See? That's looking really nice. I'm not really seeing that blue that much. Maybe. I mean, it's always hard to look through a camera at a purse. But that's looking pretty good to me. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to dry this up. We might put one more coat on it, and then we'll show you how to put on our sealer. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're back. We're just going to put one more coat on for extra measure. The rest of the purse looks okay, and actually the light beige B is a very, very close match. Even looking at it here, I mean, we can still see that the area that we apply the dye is a little bit newer because it is a brand new finish, and you know, you can still see a little bit of the age maybe in here or something like that. But the way you fix that is when you do area repairs with our products, it's always going to look newer because it is what it is. You are putting a brand new finish, new color on the item. So it is what it is. It will look newer, you know, richer, brighter, lighter. It will always look like that. Even though this is clean, there's still a little bit of ingrained soil, which is, you know, dirt is dark and it's within the grain, and you're seeing a layering effect. You're seeing the light beige B, and then in the grain and everything like that is a little bit of dirt, so it's going to look a little bit different. So the way you take care of that is you basically just get your sponge, you put a little bit of dye in there, and you just wipe a little bit of dye, just a thin coat, just like this. See, I'm just putting on a thin coat. I'm wiping in, then I'm using a very light hand just to sort of wipe it down. See, like that? Now that's going to look like brand spanking new. And all you need to do is just dry it. So in the areas where it needs a lot of dye, you put a lot of dye. In the areas that it doesn't need a lot of dye, you don't put a lot of dye. All right? You just put a little bit. But this way everything matches and everything looks like new and everything is fully and completely protected, and everything will age at the same rate and get soiled at the same rate. Okay? All right? Same thing here. Look over here. If it looks a little bit different, you just sort of wipe it in and then gently sort of wipe out. You know, if you use too heavy of a hand, you're going to leave streaks and stuff like that a little bit. But it's not really, I mean, it's nothing to really worry about. Sometimes people that use a really heavy hand run into streaking problems, and all we do is tell them, just lighten up on your hand. Just take it easy. Just pretend your hand with the sponge is a butterfly flying over top of the leather, and just gently pat and wipe it and everything will be fine, and you just let that dry and it'll look beautiful. When you force things, you know, it's just like life. When you force things in life, sometimes things don't go your way. But if you have an open mind and a positive mind, you just sort of go with the flow, and you learn a little bit and you do a little bit and everything like that, then you gain knowledge, you gain confidence, you gain, you know, you gain everything, basically. That's how you get to where you want to be, by doing sort of baby steps. We always tell our customers, oh, I can't do that. Well, no, absolutely, yes, you can do it. You get a little bit of our dye, you put it on the sponge, you go to the back of the couch, you dab on a little bit of dye, you let it dry. Now you know what you're doing. to do this little area on your couch. Now you do the whole couch that way. So you know what you're getting. You know the performance of the product. You can feel it, you can touch it. You can say to yourself, wow, if I do this little area here to the whole couch, I know it's gonna look like new. And that's the way people do things. So we always say, just start out small, no big deal. Everything started out small. Why should you get the kit and never done this before and now go crazy town to do the whole couch right away? There's no rush. You just do a small area. We always tell customers, just do the worst part first and see what you get, and then blending it into the rest of the couch is that much easier. Because if you do the really new areas, if you do those first and you get those looking to like 99% perfection, the areas that are worn or soiled may not get to that 99 percentile. They may only get to 85%. So then you're gonna see a difference in 99 to 80. So always do the worn areas, or always do the areas right here where there was ink penetrated, saturated, blotted into the material first. Get those looking good, and then just wipe a thin coat into the rest of the purse, and it looks great. Well, now that I've been talking so long, this finish pretty much already dried up. Didn't dry perfectly, but it dried enough to put another coat of dye on, or in this case, we need to apply our sealer top coat. Okay, go into the kit. This is your sealer. This is the protective top coat. This takes all the wear, all the abuse, all the cleaning. This is what guards the leather against everything. So it's very important to put a sealer on it. So the way you would do that is get yourself a fresh sponge, open up the sealer. Okay, and another thing is, see this little lock top, this little airtight cap? Save that, because when you're see the sealer? See how it sprays out? This is made to seal. So if you leave this cap off, you're gonna get sealer that's going to seal in the nozzle. If you lost this, take your cap out, wash it with some water, spray some water through it, and then put it back. But if you use this and you put this cap back on it like this, airtight, it will never seal inside the nozzle. So that's a little tip right there. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're going to spray it onto the fresh sponge evenly. 1, 2, 3, that's good enough. And you're just basically going to gently wipe on some sealer. Gently, with a light hand, but I'm just sort of going over it a little bit, like quickly, just with a really light hand. Okay? See? Here, where there was all that wear and all that ink, just lay it on there. You can lay it on a little bit thicker if you want for more protection. See how I'm putting it on there? All right. Now sometimes people put the sealer on just like I did, and they wipe it with too much force. So what happens is the dye is water-based, the sealer is water-based, because everything we sell is top of the line, the best quality water-based supplies for your convenience and for your performance. But when they put the sealer on the sponge and they really rub hard, they can re-wet the dye coat, and a little bit of the dye will transfer onto the sponge. Okay? Because you're re-wetting the dye coat. That's normal. That's okay. As long as you don't go crazy and take a whole bunch of dye off, which I don't think you will, because we got like 3 coats of dye on here, and just by wiping on a thin coat of the sealer, you may get a little bit of dye transfer, but it's nothing to worry about. As long as you just do it with a light hand, you should be fine. And even if you do get a little bit of dye transfer on the sponge, it's nothing to worry about. Okay, so what were we doing now? Did we do this side of the purse? We'll go a couple more. We'll wipe it on there, just like this, just like that. Put it on there like this. Pretty much done. We're going to, of course, put this little airtight cap onto our sealer so it's not going to cure into the nozzle. That's a good tip right there. And we're going to dry the sealer up. It dries fairly quickly. You can let it air dry overnight or for a couple hours, or you can use a hair dryer, you know. All right, so now we're going to take our gloves off. A little sweaty under here. And we're going to look at the purse. Can we look at the purse? How does it look? The area is right here. How does it look? It looks great. Looks fantastic. Really nice. So again, you can do this if you have ink and you try our ink remover and it doesn't come out, that's fine. But we always recommend our ink remover if you have ink that's freshly on there and no one has tried to monkey with it yet. Then the ink remover will do a really nice job because it's got first dibs on trying to loosen up that ink, and we tell you in the instructions not to press down and push it deeper into it, but try, you can try the ink remover and see what happens. A lot of times it's very successful and other times it isn't because of the fact that people have tried everything. Again, we can't stress that enough. We repeat ourselves in the video so you remember. And couple coats of dye over top of the stains. Even though the stains were darker color, our dyes have very good coverage. They covered over all those ink stains, and you can see it looks really nice. Okay, so that was our small leather dye repair kit. All the instructions are right there. As soon as you open it up, it's half a page of instructions, 5 steps, and it's basically everything that I just showed you right now, which isn't a lot to take in, okay? For this and many other products, you can go directly to our website, fixyourleather.com. Thanks for watching. We hope you have enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, or even share with your friends.